Hi, I'm Gina Levy, and I'm an ideas person, a problem solver and a change maker. My intention is to create solutions, raise awareness, shift paradigms, and inspire action amongst ordinary and extraordinary people. There's more good that's happening in the world than there are terrorists, but you wouldn't know it from reading the newspaper or watching the news, because a typical African news bulletin goes something like this. Malema incites racism from hate speech. Mugabe government accused of human rights violations. Somali pirates attack hostages. And then it's over, and that's Africa. It's no wonder the world's perception is of a war-torn, corrupt, diseased, uneducated, and poor continent. Only when we recognize our own reflection and see our own insanity do we become aware of how we can change it. So, driven by frustration in the fact that we can't rely solely on government to solve all of South Africa's problems, I ask myself, well, what are you going to do about it? As Lee Iacocca says, you don't get anywhere by standing on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to make things happen. So, I decided to create an alternative, a radical experiment that would change the news as we know it. I created Supernews, a new idea, a new news platform, a new possibility. It's the paradigm shift in our perception. It's the Robin Hood of the news industry and the Reuters of citizen-generated news. It's news from a new perspective that'll change systems, influence behaviors, and inspire new ways of thinking. It'll raise our expectations of ourselves and South Africa and give us opportunities, optimism, and hope. So using the crowdsourcing model, Supernews is literally democratizing the news-making environment by transforming the passive observer of the news into the active participant in the news. We're inviting citizens from every corner of South Africa to literally change the news headlines by giving them a multimedia megaphone to write or record their own futures. Because you don't have to own a TV station or a newspaper to have your say or share your story. All you need is a cell phone or a digital camera. Now that makes it really different from the way traditional news is made and distributed, giving Supernews a presence where mainstream media lacks one, and making the potential for gathering and sourcing original user-generated news content infinite. Supernews is also crowdsourcing the next socially impactful innovations and action plans from the creative imagination of thousands of students across South Africa. And that's because we want to solve South African challenges and create new news. So we're launching Superstage, the first live, open, brainstorming marketplace on campuses across the country. Because we realize that the new student activist is no longer the campus rallying, placard-wielding angry protester. They are the change makers themselves. They're the next Einsteins and Zuckerbergs, Shuttleworths and Mandelas. They're the next Oprahs and Disneys. And Supernews is taking them seriously by giving them a platform to rewrite the headlines and write the world, one super idea at a time. So just imagine, community reduces carbon footprint using homemade mobile technology. UCT student invents world's first dry soap for water-restricted rural areas. Digital libraries run by township kids put South African education back on track. Local 16-year-old creates stronger rocket fuel than NASA, planet named after him. Supernews turns local municipalities into innovation powerhouses. With so much time, energy, and passion invested in an idea that literally has global aspirations, I'm convinced that Supernews is going to be a game changer, and I'm committed to making it happen. So, as you can see, I'm not creating a once-off campaign from the top down. I'm creating a movement for change from the ground up, a citizen-generated, citizen-funded news and idea network, an independent and impartial platform that uses the power of the crowd as both its source of information and the force behind its organization. Because the more the public see themselves as having a voice, the more inspired they are to get involved, and the more they see their involvement as getting noticed, the greater the realization that they can make South Africa work better. And maybe, just maybe, together, we'll trigger a news revolution. and wake up to headlines that create South Africa the entire world is inspired by. Now that's super news.